back to the program. Well, the National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party has declared a 7-day mourning for the victims of the gruesome killings of innocent Nigerians by marauders and bandits in Plateau State and other parts of the country. The party directed that its flags at all its offices and formations at all levels across the country be flown at half-mast during the period in honor of the victims. Well, we're discussing the recent killings in Plateau State and the general security situation in the country. And I've been talking to retired police officer Van der Ven James in Abuja studios. Mr. Van der Ven, well, let me ask you now, do you think restructuring or reorganizing the security architecture of the country by the president is the answer and the way forward?
Yes, I think that will bring a solution to most of these challenges we're having. The present leadership of the entire heads of security agencies, a lot of people have been calling for their removal, that they are not giving the needed result. So I think when you bring in a new officer on board to head these agencies, he may have different ideas and different attitudes and different approaches to seeing how this can be curtailed. So I think the most important thing to do is really to change the leadership of these agencies and see how effective the new people on board can be able to do these things. On the other hand, I don't know the instruction or the information that passes to the president, because the president is supposed to be giving the intelligence of what happens on the field every day by these agencies. And it is based on that he should be able to understand how the effectiveness of these services is going. So if he is satisfied that they are no longer giving him what he wants because the results on the field is different from the result they are giving him, the most important thing is to do away with them and then replace them with others who can give you better results.
Okay, but do you think the Buhari administration has the political will to actually follow through with this reorganization and bring an end to these killings?
Why not? There's a political will behind the man who is the head of the country. He's not having it easy also. Anywhere you see him speaking about the killings, you can see the stress on his face. You can see the pain in his voice. It is better for him to take the courage. The former army officer, he loved the country. At least when we were coming to the service, we followed his footsteps. We knew the kind of things he did. There was this assignment in Bakassi where they went Operation Sea Dog. Then the one in Borno where they were able to caution the effect of the initial upsurge of Boko Haram when he was a soldier. I think he should have the political will because he's senior to most of these army officers who are on the ground today, and he's older than most of them also. So there's nothing you should be afraid of in trying to change them. By changing them, you don't even need any other thing than just that determination that you want to get results. It's not as if you're saying they didn't work well. They did, but because they have overstayed, or most of them overstayed on these ranks, and have been doing this kind of a thing for quite a long time, it is likely possible that they have run out of ideas. So the most important thing is for him to summon courage and sack them or remove them or retire them and then replace them with others who can give him new ideas how they can approach this organization. So I think if he does that, there will be some changes.
All right, let's get some update on the situation in Plateau now. Joining us on the program is the Commissioner for Information, Plateau State, Yakubu Datti. Welcome to the program, Mr. Datti. What's the latest situation in the Plateau? We understand that the death toll has risen to over 100 now.
Well, I want to thank you for this opportunity, and I thank Nigerians for commiserating with us on the Plateau. I'd like to say that we are beginning to experience some relative peace in the state, thanks to the quick proactive steps taken by Governor Simon Lalong, who cut off short his trip to Abuja to come back and take proactive actions like the declaration of imposition of curfew in 3 local governments. And for the past 3 days, Plateau has received Vice President Yemi Obi's Simbajo, President Muhammadu Buhari, and the President of the Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki, and just this evening, the former President Olusegun Obasanjo left. At the end of the day, we have some low-hanging fruits that has enabled the peace that is returning to Jos. For one, we'll be able to get secure the establishment of mobile posts at one of the flashpoints, which is Gashish in Baikuladi. We'll also be able to get commitment from the federal government to include Plateau State in the 10 billion naira intervention fund for crisis areas, so that we'll be able to rebuild the places that are being destroyed. Thirdly, we'll also be able to get NEMA, where the managing director came along with the vice president. So they promised to move in with material immediately. We've also had reinforcement, both aerial and ground troops. The police have moved in, led by the Deputy Inspector General of Police. So we have helicopters and ground forces, intelligence. We also have a special terrorist force that are already here. So that has also put in restore peace in the state. We're also approaching it also double-pronged. Apart from that, we've opened up dialogue between and among the warring factions. The Plateau State chairman of the Piazza, Nura Mohammed, had an opportunity to also speak on behalf of his group, while we had the Bongong Jos, who also spoke on behalf of the Birom while the vice president was around. We also had other communities that were affected who also aired their grievances, and it was agreed, and emphatically too, that there is a need to open up dialogue, because at the time that the peace is returned, we'll find that the security forces will have to be pulled back to their other responsibilities. So the people will be left to face themselves, and that is why the issue of dialogue, which is being midwifed by the Plateau State peace-building agency.
Okay, Mr. Dati, speaking about dialogue, don't you think the government takes more of a proactive or rather a reactive stance rather than a proactive stance? And is it true that the Birom people who were attacked had actually reported several times to the government the trouble that was brewing in their land and nothing was done about it?
Well, it's good to also cast our minds back, because this crisis did not start now. In fact, it was under this government that the crisis abated for more than 3.5 years. Why? Because one of the strategies taken was ensuring that the two warring tribes were brought to the table and there was dialogue. And they even developed a document, a peace plan, which was adopted just 3 weeks by the Plateau State Executive Council, which enumerated several steps both parties sat and agreed on. And those were steps that were awaiting implementation. And I want to say that the strategies used for the past 3 years had given us results, and that is why Plateau became celebrated. So sometimes we know that whatever gaps that were created that allowed some of these criminal elements to exploit is what we are also reviewing and looking at the moment. But the dialogue, which was championed by the first agency of peace in Nigeria, the Plateau Peace Building Agency, had really given us results, and it was becoming a model that were being copied by different states. Yes, dialogue has yielded results for us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yakubu Dati, Commissioner for Information, Plateau State, for joining us on the program. Also from Abuja studios, Mr. Vanderven James, thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts. Well, that's our show tonight. Many thanks for being part of it. Of course, we'll bring you up to speed on developments on the plateau as they unfold. I'm Imana Amawe. Bye-bye.